Hello and welcome to my channel. It's so nice to be able to spend some time with you. This is the second Susan Taylor Brown Poppiness design team video hop. The first was so well received and such a great success that we decided to do it again. We all love to make junk journals. An integral part of making a junk journal is adding a little or a lot of ephemera. Whether it is genuine vintage ephemera we've collected over time, faux ephemera from a digikit, or ephemera we've made ourselves, it all adds to the overall look and character of the journal. In this hop, we're all making ephemera using the same digikit from Susan's Etsy shop, Poppiness. We're using her recently released Dragonfly Days Junk Journal digital kit. I think this hop will be a great opportunity to give you an idea of how you can use one digikit so many different ways, and this is before actually making a journal to put all the ephemera into. There's a link in the description box to both the particular digital kit we've all used, as well as Susan's Etsy store, so you can check out her other awesome kits that she has available. In my video, I show you a variety of ways that you can add some extra real estate into your journal. I'm making 5 different types of mini notebooks using variations you can combine and rearrange for any number of different styles of notebooks or pads. To give you a heads up, I've done a lot of prep work before I start to film so that you don't have to watch me do all of that, particularly as I'm planning on doing so many things. By prep work, I mean I've already trimmed out the digital kits, I've inked around the edges, and I've trimmed to size all the papers I intend to use. I've sped up this video to fit it all in, but there are links in the description box to real-time videos for each technique. So let's get started. I'm starting off with a mini book because it's made the same as you would make a journal book, just on a smaller scale. The cover is made from one of the journal cards included in Susan's kit. I've added 2 score lines to give a 1/4-inch spine into which I'll hand sew one signature using a simple 2-stitch pamphlet stitch. The signature pages are cut from tea and coffee dyed paper. I've cut this so there's about a 1/8 inch gap from the edge of the page to the edge of the cover on all sides. Here in New Zealand we print on A4 paper, which is different to the US letter paper. So rather than give you specific measurements for the cover and internal pages, I'm just letting you know that to make sure when you cut your pages they're a 1/4 inch shorter and narrower than your cover, and this will give you the required 1/8 inch gap on all 4 sides. With only a single signature, I'm not worrying about creating a piercing template for my stitching. I've pierced the holes in one of the pages and will use that as the template to ensure all the other holes for the binding line up. I'm using my centre finder ruler to ensure that the holes are evenly distanced from the centre of the book. To bind the book, I'm using some white hemp cord that I purchased a few years ago from the US. I always measure my required thread length as 3 times the height of the book, and a little bit extra for tying the knot. This time I'm also allowing for ties to go from the back of the spine to the other edge as well as a bow at the side. I start the binding from the centre outside of the mini book, leaving a long tail as I intend on using the leftover thread from the binding as the ties to hold the mini book closed. I finish the stitching with a double knot before wrapping the ends of the binding around the mini book and finishing it with a bow to keep the book closed. I have a real-time video of each of the notebooks in my Junk Journal Tutorials playlist, so please. The second mini book is a matchbook style. The cover wraps entirely around the papers inside and encloses on itself. To make this, I've used one of the tags included in the digikit as the cover. As the tags are smaller than a normal shipping tag, this matchbook comes out quite small. If you wanted to make a bigger version, you could enlarge the tags before printing, or try using one of the 4 pages in the kit instead. You can then cut the page to the size that you want, or whatever will fit inside your journal. I score the tag to create a 1/4 inch spine on either side, so that the cover wraps all around the pages without buckling them. For the closure, I cut a short slice to the front cover of the matchbook. I made sure it was long enough to tuck the narrower end into. It's 1/2 inch from the end of the tag and 3/8 of an inch from both sides of the tag. If you wanted to try something more decorative, you could instead add one of the labels in the kit or fussy cut a dragonfly from the Ephemera page so that you can tuck the narrow end behind the decoration to keep the matchbook closed. The pages inside the matchbook are tea and coffee dyed papers. I was able to cut a single A4 sheet of paper into enough pages to fill the matchbook. When sizing the pages, ensure that they are 1/16 of an inch top and bottom less than the cover. It's worth noting I cut the pages to fit inside the width of the closed matchbook rather than fit the cover to the cut pages. For this matchbook, I stapled the pages into the cover. However, as an alternative to stapling, you could sew the pages in instead. I'm calling this third mini a booklet. It uses 2 of the journal cards from the kit as the front and back covers. I love the purple dragonfly and just knew I had to use it for this. This time I've used one of the lined pages from the kit as well. I printed it just on printer paper. I've cut it to the same size that I cut the tea and coffee dyed papers. For sizing, I've measured from even with the left side to 1/8 of an inch less than the right side. The height of the page I cut 1/8 of an inch shorter than the cover on both top and bottom. This means that on the bound edge, the cover and pages will be flush with each other. However, on the other 3 sides, the pages will be shorter than the cover. Like the first mini book, I've used one of the pages as the template for the holes in all the other pages as well as the covers. I suggest clipping the covers and pages together with the holes aligned before you start the stitching. This will make it easier for you to thread the needle through each of the holes. Start your stitching at either the top or the bottom of the stitching row rather than the middle like before. Oversew the end of the journal before blanket stitching the booklet together. Remember to oversew the other end as well. To finish off the binding, I threaded the hemp cord back down to the starting point, wrapping a loop around each of the blanket stitches across the back of the booklet. Finish with a double knot and trim the ends to length. Using a handheld single hole punch, I add a hole to the centre and the far edge of the binding on both the front and back covers. I later add hole reinforcers on both sides of each cover and threaded some more of the hemp cord through each hole before tying the covers of the booklet together. As an alternative, you could use ribbon or seam binding to hold the booklet closed. Now, I understand the stitching was pretty fast, so don't forget you can have a look at those step-by-step demonstrations in my tutorial playlist. The fourth piece is a notepad made from another of the tags in the kit. It features a ribbon binding that can be untied and retied after removing or adding pages as needed. I wanted to make this notepad as large as possible based on the size of the tag, so I added score lines right where the tag started to narrow. This time I've made a spine of 1/8 of an inch. The remainder of the tag I fold over as a short front to the notepad to strengthen the area where the holes are. The papers are again a mix of lined pages from the kit and tea or coffee dyed papers, and they're cut fractionally smaller than the backing. You could simply cut them the same size, just take care with which way you want the lines to run when cutting the lined paper. I eyeballed where I wanted to punch the 2 holes through the pad, inserted the pages and folded it over the front tip. I used a handheld punch as I wanted the holes to be large enough to thread through seam binding, though you could also use ribbon. After cutting the seam binding to length, I tied the ends in a simple bow on the front of the notepad. The final creation is a sampler pad. To make a sampler pad, you need a selection of scrap paper. It can be any material, colour or size. For this I've used another journal card as the backing for the sampler, though you could always use a tag or cut one of the full sheet printables down to the size that you want. Place your backing card on the table, noting where you want the top of the pad to be. Then simply start layering your pieces of scrap paper so that they line up with the top and sides of the pad. Be sure to evenly distribute them across the width. Once you've laid down as many papers as you want, carefully apply a binder or filing clip to hold everything in place for the next step. Using a single hole punch, punch 2 holes along the top edge of the pile of papers. Be sure to catch every scrap of paper in the pile with at least one of the holes. You could of course always add more holes if your sampler pad is bigger or wider. Thread seam binding or ribbon through the 2 holes and tie a bow at the top to hold everything in place. Remove the binder clips once everything is secured. There we have created 5 different notebooks and pads, though you can mix the components to create many more. They are all a great size to fit inside your handbag for making notes on the run, so you can use them on their own or as part of the journal. You are not limited to using only paper to fill the books and pads, especially the sampler pad. You could instead add fabrics, ribbon or fibre, or a mix of these with paper. Enjoy making your own ephemera. I hope you take some or all of the ideas you see and make them your own. In the description box below is the list of participants in the hop with links to each of their videos. Follow along in order and enjoy the other videos because I know the ladies have shared some amazing ideas. You will also find a link to Susan's Etsy store for the digital kit we have all used, as well as the other kits that she has available. There are links to the detailed step-by-step videos for each of my creations listed as well. I would really love it if you would think about subscribing to my channel as well as those of the other participants. Your continued support encourages and inspires us to keep creating and keep sharing. And if you click the bell on each of our channels, you will be notified whenever one of us releases a new video. So thank you very much, enjoy, and most importantly, have fun with your crafting.